What is poppin'? It is a Slapton. I am but a lowly Slapton riding these DeFi waves, and this is Today in Crypto, where I give you all of the crypto news that is fit to go ape wild over. Now, keep in mind, as a lowly Slapton, I might be able to educate, and I might even be able to entertain, but I cannot give a financial advice, so if you're looking to go to the moon, go get a rocket ship, because I ain't going to be able to tell you how to get there. But without further ado, let it begin. So let's talk about regulation, what everybody's interested in, right? We got Biden. This is president, right? This dude named Biden. He picks this Fed vice chair. Now, this Fed vice chair happens to be the former advisory board member of Ripple Labs. His name is Michael Barr. Now, Michael Barr has a particular opinion on stablecoins, and he believes that stablecoins should be regulated. And he believes this so much that he actually goes in front of Congress and he testifies and he says, hey, this should be a regulated asset. Now, if you guys have been keeping track of these sorts of stories in the news, you've probably noticed that they're picking up, and in no short order because of Terra Luna depegging and Tether depegging by about 5 cents. Terra Luna's case was a complete meltdown. So I think, not what I think, what I know you're going to see is continued pressure by lawmakers and regulators to get regulations into the space, and I think they're going to start with stablecoins. And to illustrate that point, let me give you two more stories. The FCA, which is the United Kingdom's Economic and Finance Ministry, announced that it would work to incorporate stablecoins into a regulatory framework on digital assets. The UK is going to get in on it. Also, we have the G7, which is 7 nations. We have United States, Great Britain, Japan, Italy, Germany, France, and Canada, saying that crypto should meet the same norms as regular finance. Basically, more regulation, but wait, there's more. We also have the CFTC that says crypto assets will be divided into 2 categories in upcoming regulation. So again, regulation, regulation, regulation. Now, why this regulation and why stablecoins, okay? Because if you think about stablecoins, I wouldn't think of stablecoins as particularly risk-on assets. I know you can point to Terra Luna and the $40 billion that were lost, but I could easily just as easily point to Tether or USDC or DAI and say these things have been operating at billions of market caps. They really do their job. They don't depeg. They're properly managed. The reserves are there. In the case of DAI, there's over collateralization. And these aren't speculative assets for the most part. These are stable coins. I mean, I could think of 99,000 billion things that are more speculative and volatile in crypto than USDC or DAI. I might have been invested in a few of them, and you might have been as well. So why are these regulatory bodies coming after stablecoins? I have a theory on this, and I don't think I'm the only one. It's a very simple concept of competition. So these central banks and these governments, they like having control over the money supply. They like the fact that they're the printers of fiat. One, they get to control when the supply expands and when it contracts, and if they know that and they're aware of that and they can manipulate that, then they can position themselves in the proper positions to take advantage of when the supply expands and when it contracts. That's number one. The second thing is that they have what's called seigniorage, which means that they can create value just by printing, because in the case of the United States, it cost, I don't know, probably fractions of a dollar or 10 cents to print a $1 bill, and that $1 bill in theory is worth $1. So every time they print money, they're essentially creating value out of thin air. Now, they can only do this for so long, in theory, right, before we get massive inflation, which we have now, and then we have really deleterious effects to the economy and everything kind of spirals out of control. So why is it stablecoins they're looking at? Because stablecoins are direct competition. Now, the only thing that stablecoins have, let's say that Bitcoin doesn't or Ethereum doesn't, is a relatively stable price. And you need a stable price if you want something to be currency. It's one of the problems with Bitcoin in achieving its currency, or the goal of being currency, is that the prices are too volatile. So if you go to the store and you were paying in Bitcoin, you would have to calculate the price based on the price of Bitcoin on that day, and it can fluctuate wildly. So these central banks see these stable coins as this competition to their hegemony, to their supremacy of currency, and they want to make sure that these things never get more powerful or popular or prevalent than these fiat currencies, and the way to do that is with regulation, because if you are allowed to regulate, you are allowed to destroy. I believe there was a famous quote, the ability to tax is the ability to destroy. Well, I will add to that, or expand that to, the ability to regulate is the ability to destroy. At the very least, if they're able to regulate it, they're able to extract value out of it and make sure that the value of these things go back to the fiat system. Now, what's ironic about all of this, in my opinion, is that if the governments, particularly the United States government, just let something like Tether and USDC go under pretty lenient regulation, like maybe have them report their reserves every month instead of every quarter, which they're currently doing, then you would actually be driving demand for the USD, the US dollar, because that's what's backing these coins, and people want these coins. So there's inherent demand for this fiat through a new financial instrument. This is good for the United States, in my opinion. Why create a whole new coin when you already have a decentralized currency that people want, are adopting, that happens to be backed by your product? Go with it, dude. Here's my advice. If I was standing before Congress and before like the Federal Reserve and all these regulatory bodies, hey, guys, go with it, dude. Tell me what you think. But I think that's why they're going after stablecoins, but I also think it's just a foolish idea. All right, so how about some good news? Let's do some good news. Let's talk about Ethereum. I'm a big Ethereum bull long term. I believe in it wholeheartedly. I think Bitcoin and Ethereum at the end of the day will continue to be value generating machines. And we have a story here that says Ethereum has destroyed 8.1 billion with a B in Ether. So here's the deal. EIP 1559 has been live for like 283 days at the time of shooting this video, not even a year. And in that time, it has burned $8.1 billion. Every time there's a transaction, some of the fees get burned. Now, when Ethereum moves to proof of stake from proof of work, the amount of Ethereum that will be emitted will be drastically reduced. I don't remember the exact numbers, though it's in this article. It was something like by a factor of 5, maybe even 10. I think there's like 5 million Ethereum being emitted. Let me see. So right now, Ethereum's issuance rate is 5.4 million Ethereum a year. After the merge to proof of stake, the issuance rate will be around 500,000. I was right. It's approximately a factor of 10 or 11, which means that the burns will continue to go on, but new Ethereum won't be minted at the same rate, which means Ethereum will be net deflationary. The supply of it will actually be decreasing over time, which is bullish if you're holding Ethereum, because unless you think the demand is going to completely dry up, and I don't, I think it's going to expand. This should be good for price action long term. Not financial advice, of course, but buy Ethereum. Very cool stuff. A little bit more good news. Let's get into the Tether story. So I did mention that Tether has to declare its reserves every quarter. It's called an attestation, and the latest one was released, and it was actually good news. A lot of people were worried that Tether was going to be holding speculative assets in the reserves, like commercial real estate paper, which is relatively speculative compared to something like fiat. Well, it turns out that Tether, wisely, has been trading in or cycling out of this speculative commercial paper and into things like government bonds. So government bonds, United States government bonds, are seen as reliable, they're highly liquid, and they're conservative, right? So this gives investors confidence in the backing, and it does one other thing that I think is really smart, is it sends a message to the United States government that if you, and this is what I said before, if you let us play ball, we can actually drive demand for your currency and for your fiat. Right? So basically, we'll keep buying your government bonds if maybe you look the other way or be a little bit light on your regulations. So I think this is a good move by Tether. It's just good news in general. Tether actually has weathered the storm of Terra relatively well. You've seen a run on Tether. I think $7 billion have been redeemed. $7 billion worth of Tether have been redeemed, meaning $7 billion worth of Tether has been turned into its fiat backing, and the reserves are still there, which shows that it is properly capitalized, that the reserves are there. So good on Tether, a good news story. Now let's get to some fun stuff. Let's talk about Meta. Also known as Facebook, or formerly known as Facebook. Meta defends its gamble on the Metaverse, said it'll be worth $3 trillion. So Meta believed in the Metaverse so much that they actually changed their name from Facebook to Meta. Now, the Metaverse, of course, is we're talking about some theoretical future world in which everybody will be interconnected through virtual reality headsets. My personal opinion, and this is probably my boomer showing, is I think this is all nonsense. I think this is all going to be a fad. I think we'll look back on the promises of Metaverse and we will see it the same way we saw, what were those things called? Those scooters that were supposed to revolutionize travel, but they were really dopey looking. Leave it in the comment. I can't think of the name. The founder of it actually went off of a cliff on the actual product that he founded. I think we'll look back at this as what were we thinking? And here's why. I've been hearing my entire life about how we're going to enter into virtual reality. And every time I see the products that are the revolutionary new products that are developed and we're so close, I try them out and I'm like, dude, we're not even really close. Now, we're way closer today than we were 20 years ago or even 5 years ago. But at the end of the day, when you put on a stupid headset, you still know that you're wearing a stupid headset and it's hard to kick the idea that you're wearing a stupid headset. And if you need any more evidence that this isn't going to happen, all you need to think about is that freaking Meta went all in on the metaverse. That should give you some pause as to the legitimacy of the metaverse. That's my take on that, but that's a funny story. One couple more funny stories about boomers. Boomer story number one is the European Central Bank President Christine Lagarde says that crypto are highly speculative, very risky assets, and in her very humble assessment, I don't think it's a very humble assessment. I don't think there's very much humble about her or any central bank, particularly the European Central Bank, is that it is worth nothing. It is based on nothing. There is no underlying asset to act as anchor of safety. Now, of course, what she is describing is fiat currency. So the ironic twist here is the president of the European Central Bank was actually describing the deficiency of fiat when she was trying to FUD crypto. Now, the one thing that crypto has that gives it inherent value over fiat, one advantage, is that it is decentralized. So we can't see a manipulation in a properly decentralized protocol, properly being the key word, that we can see in, let's say, fiat currency, because as you know, a central bank can print it into oblivion. The other thing that it has is scarcity. And, if we're talking about Bitcoin as an example, we know there's a set amount. What's the set amount of US dollars that can be printed? What's the parameter set for that? There isn't one. So very good on this boomer for elucidating the problems of fiat. I'd call this a self-rec or a self-own, and my favorite boomer. We have to get into this. Boomer Bill, as I like to call him, old Billy Gates, says he doesn't own crypto because it doesn't have any value but output and it isn't adding to society. So kind of disappointing because Boomer Bill is a tech legend, right? One of the guys responsible for Microsoft's ascendancy and Windows and all that. But on the other hand, isn't he one of the old guard? Isn't he somebody that is now protecting the fiat system? Isn't he at the top of that system? Why would he want that system to be challenged by anything, right? And I'm sure he's got a lot of rich and powerful people that are in his circle that are saying, hey, and they probably call him Boomer Bill, as a sign of respect. Hey, Boomer Bill, make sure you knock that crypto down a peg. Don't let them get any ideas about that. So thank you for Microsoft, Boomer Bill. Now get lost. I don't care what he says. Here's my thing on this. I don't care what he thinks. I don't care if he likes it or doesn't like it. I don't care what Elon thinks. I don't care if he likes it or doesn't like it. I don't care what Warren Buffett thinks. I don't care even what you think. I hardly care what I think. I don't care what any one person thinks about crypto. I care what the world thinks about crypto. And the world in general seems to have found a lot of value in this stuff. Trillions and trillions of dollars worth of value, and it's only growing. So again, Boomer Bill, thank you for Windows. I love playing Minesweeper, but I think it's time that you hung up. Does he wear turtlenecks at Steve Jobs? What does he wear? You hung up your dorky glasses. All right, that'll do it for me. This is the weekend edition of Today in Crypto. Thank you for joining. I will keep you guys abreast of all the news that is fit to go ape wild over. Above all else, though, do me a favor, would you? And ape responsibly. I will catch you all, hopefully, on the next one. Peace, dudes and dudettes.